Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it.
Listen,
Fellas,
it's
it's
just
gonna be one of them nights.
it's gonna be. I'm telling you. Since my bums don't work anymore.
That was better.
That's the same. I didn't change nothing.
That sounded a little better.
I changed absolutely nothing, yo. Man, another Tuesday night at 9, man. Prototype Day in the building, man. How y'all feeling tonight, guys?
Feeling good, feeling great.
Feeling great.
What
Feeling
up,
good. How
fellas? What
about
up,
you?
fellas?
What up, though?
What's up? Hit me, man. It's good to have you back, man. I'm glad you got some time to join us tonight.
And man, after I've been ostracized by the group, man, you know what I mean? I
Oh, man.
appreciate, you know what I mean, that you guys allow me in the space for a minute, man. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
feel like I got Bobby Brown, dog.
you can't even help but gaslight, huh? That's just a part of who you are. The gaslight king. Is that how you function? Yeah, that's how you function. I don't even gotta ask. Man. So, man, what's the news for this week? What you got, Reese? Mo?
Let me see. As far as the news, I've been kind of like digging into this whole presidential thing because I'm so tired of seeing all these ads. Like I can't wait for November 5th to happen so it could be all over. But I've been trying to really dig in to kind of see the policy and stuff. Um, I don't really care about the rhetoric and the scare tactics. But that's the biggest thing is I've been trying to do is trying to dig into that. So as far as I've been seeing them kind of do all the platforms, if you will, whether it be Breakfast Club, whether it be Charlemagne. I've seen. I watched Joe Rogan's interview with Trump. That was interesting. So that's the biggest thing. Like just kind of trying to dig my way in because I'll be transparent, man. I don't know which way I'm going at this point. Come the 5th. So I want to be informed before I make a decision.
Yeah, it's an interesting pool with this. My biggest thing is you never know what to believe. No matter what news or information you get, you just never know what to believe or what is actually factual and what is not. You know what I'm saying? And so many
Yeah.
people could run around you in circles and gaslighting you on what you might think is true. Um, I just I just get frustrated and opt out. Like I don't know who's telling the truth. Y'all figure it out. You know what I'm saying? But I know that's a bad way to go about it. But what do you do when everybody's lying? What you got, Hit? What's the news for the week?
Said, news for the week. Um, I would say, man, the sports world, man. Been digging into the sports world. I just found out something that's crazy, man. That how they just stripped like Oakland of all their sports teams. The Oakland A's are going to Las Vegas, which is crazy. So, and I was just saying, like, when in the area that was as dependent on their sports teams, like a place like Oakland, like how much does racism play a part in like what kind of sports teams or what you're gonna have in your area? You know what I mean? Like if you look at it, how they moved Atlanta or the Braves out of the hood, so to speak, and put them in Cobb County, and like how that's the trend. Like I think that's the part like how they just pulling a lot of money out of the black areas. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean, like and taking them to certain areas where they can, make money. Or is it that the black areas, we're not taking advantage of having the teams and having the stuff around our areas, and we were losing money in the neighborhoods.
That's interesting. And that's kind of some of the stuff I've been digging into lately. Like and I hate to be this guy, but like a lot of stuff that we're blaming as racism is just like poor choices or just business. You know what I mean? Like, because so with Oakland situation, right across the bay, you got San Francisco. There's oodles of money, and they're throwing money at them. So is it racism or is it like a good deal? It's good negotiating. Like because the Golden State Warriors also they now have their arena in San Francisco as well. San Francisco just throwing kind of that what do they call it, that I don't know if that's I'm assuming that's Silicon Valley. All that money, like they're throwing money at them hand over foot. So is it racism or is it just a good deal?
Both.
Both.
How would you look at?
We need to know the difference.
What you got, Lee?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm never taking racism out of it because it's part of our system. So even if you don't think it's a part of it because you think it's good business, it's always a part of it. It's the underlying. It's what this country was built on. So that's just the reality. There's no separating it. Of course, you got the caste system. You got no classism. You got money. You got all of that stuff. But racism is always a part of it, man. And folks are always cool with you getting money as long as you don't get more than them. So there's always that level in there. But that ain't my news. My news is that the Pittsburgh Steelers is number one in the AFC North division. And I don't know how long we're going to be number one, but I'm going to hold on to that for right now because there was a lot of haters talking a lot of mess about my man Tomlin and my Steelers. So, you know what I mean? Now we about to get to the meaty half of the season where we, with all of these division matchups, and I can't wait for it. So I'm ready for it.
Man, I've been saying this from the time we signed 3 that we was going to the Super Bowl, and I mean y'all had me documented on it. You know what I'm saying? Like I already knew what we was doing if he was healthy, and you know what I'm saying. We got a QB of that caliber because I don't think we've ever in Steelers history had a guy of that credibility. So it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Is that considered gaslighting?
No.
We're gonna start calling it gaslighting. I'm calling it BS.
Or is that considered delusion? Or is that But I was gonna say maybe about 7 years, maybe. But
hey, do you got a gaslighting button?
Look, wah wah wah.
No, we've never had a QB of this caliber, so it is what it is.
Yo, never mind. I'm not doing it.
Oh man, what you feeling yourself with, Mo?
Yo, man. So a couple things have kind of come across my radar. I was watching. Nick Cannon has a podcast show, whatever, called Council Culture, and he had Candace Owens on it. And it was a pretty dope interview. So I bought her book. I haven't read it yet. I know that's kind of been the theme last couple of shows. I just been buying books. I haven't actually read them yet. So it's kind of a blind plug, I guess, if you will. It's called Blackout by Candace Owens. And then within that interview, I also bought another book called Chaos. And supposedly it has to do with like the Manson situation with the murders and stuff like that. And supposedly like the CIA had a part of it. It's the first time I've ever heard that. So to be determined. Once I read it, it was pretty damn thick. I didn't expect it to be that much. And then I also caught wind of something called it was called Jefferson Street Joe. And it was a documentary on Joe Gilliam. How Joe Gilliam, he was the starting quarterback for the Steelers in the 74 season, whatever the season was when they first won the Super Bowl, and how he had beat out Terry Bradshaw. And I want to say up until like week 7, he had was doing this thing or whatever. And like I remember my pops used to always tell me the story of how he was like the man, and there was some stuff that he was outside, and that's what kind of caused him to not be able to finish the season or whatever. But within this docuseries, it was actually kind of talking about, man, there was kind of some, as y'all call it, there was some racism that might have pulled him out, and the powers that be didn't want to see him successful. Whichever one you believe, I don't know. I wasn't there, but it was a really dope story. And I found it interesting that, because Michael Vick did the whole series on the black quarterback. And I thought it was very interesting that he never got mentioned. And this could potentially be why. So could be a dope watch if you're interested in that type
Did he
of thing.
mention anybody like no, he went back to Doug Williams. But Doug Williams, I think that was the oldest he got was Doug Williams, right? Is there anybody?
No, because you had Shaq Williams, you had Marlon Briscoe. All them people was well before Doug Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, where did he mention
so I just thought,
did he mention them in the
not
series?
once. I never heard the name once.
Like, no, did he mention any of the guys you just said?
Oh yeah, like they had whole segments on them. Yeah, they had segments on them and everything.
I think my news for the week is man, another sponsorship by effing Focus, man. You know, I appreciate it because it's like one of the brand. It's a brand that we can finally like really endorse and support, man. It's all about focusing, taking supplements. The supplements support like focus, concentration, energy, pre-workout, that kind of stuff. So no, I'm happy about that. So go check that out. Go, the link is in the scroll bar, and yeah, support the pod. But Lee, what you feeding yourself with?
Oh man, that's a good question, man. I've been on vacation. I've been taking a lot of vacation time, so I ain't really been feeding anything except my relaxation. You know what I mean? So I'm really behind on my reading and everything, man, because I was just really like, I had a little family trip, and then I had the trip with me and the wife. So you know what I mean? I really haven't been diving into anything. But like Reese said, I got a couple books in the queue that are waiting for me to crack open. But yeah, I haven't really been doing much of anything right now. Just trying to get caught up with work in this fourth quarter.
What you got, Hit? What you been feeding yourself, brother?
Yo, man, I've been just trying to perform myself with all these DOT regulations, man. Yo, it's a whole lot of DOT and different things that you know what I mean you just really don't know about. And I got blindsided on a few things, so I'm trying to avoid that blindside because the blindside costs you money in this game. So um, I just had a DOT audit. Um, and like insurance and all different type of things. A lot that go into it, man. I think a lot of times, man, I think the black businesses fail because we're just not informed, yo. Like it's a lot that we don't know, man. So I'm just trying to really, really dig into this DOT thing, man, so I can keep these people out my pockets.
Yo, that's one of the things that I really want to take this podcast to, right? Like if we ever get big enough to do platforms and shows or whatever, I really want to, I think I talked to this with you guys at the very beginning, have a conference where people really learn with some tools or leave with some tools. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of stuff that we would need to know, you know what I'm saying? The kind of tools to get ready. Like, hey, when you're doing transportation, this is the kind of stuff you need to think about, to really prepare us for getting ahead of like, what if we do get reparations? What are we going to do with it? You know what I'm saying? They're just going to take it right back in fees, laws, and things we don't know anyway, and ignorance. You know what I'm saying? We're going to pay the ignorant tax. So, no, I mean, teach it. Teach it to the next person, and maybe you can save somebody from a hit.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, I think that old, and I don't believe it, but it said if you want to hide something from a black person, you put it in the book. Um, I honestly really think they're predicated off of that, the fact that you don't know and you don't know a lot about it. And so I think that's like almost a revenue source. You know what I mean? The way they play it. Because like if you don't know, like DOT can stop you for anything. Like they can stop you and just say, hey, I'm running a routine inspection. Like it doesn't have to have necessarily a cause. And they can go down there and there's a lot. You'd be like, oh, you don't have this, or you don't know this, or you don't have, let me see this, let me see that. And everything's a fine. You know what I'm saying? So then it affects your safety score, which makes your insurance higher. It's a whole lot of stuff that go into it. So yeah, man, I think a lot of times we just fail, man, because we're not informed, though. Like I don't know if that's intentionally or not, but I think they put the ownership on us too. We got to do better about informing ourselves about things.
Facts, man. Man, let's get into the show topic. Should a man teach his woman the game? You know what I'm saying? So This has kind of been a topic that's been up. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't sure if we wanted to kind of run it, but being that we got such mixed reactions from it, man, I think it's something that we need to put on wax, man. So, first question: how should a woman learn the value of a man? Mo, what you got?
It's interesting the way you phrased it because you said a woman. Because I was gonna say she should already have it before she becomes a woman from her father, or at least from her family. But when it comes to, and where I'm going to take it very literal because you said a woman, so at this point I'm assuming she's grown, right? And she, obviously she has a man. So I think she should value what her man values. Whoever she chooses to lead her, she should actually value what he feels is valuable. And I think that would, you always say it, she takes her lead from who she's following. So I think that's a very good indicator of how to go about it. Is whoever did you trust enough to lead you, value what they value.
Hey, what you got?
Yeah,
How
I
should a
think
woman learn the value? Go ahead, you got it.
you said what?
How should a woman learn the value of a man?
I'm a second with my man Mo saying. I think the problem is that they get their sources from the wrong people. You know what I mean? Like they're learning it from, you know what I mean, the Housewives of Atlanta, or they weren't her for, or you know what I mean, Instagram, TikToks, whatever. You know what I mean? Whoever they're getting it from, and the issue is like we always talk about that generational gap, you know what I mean, and some of that ball dropping. But we only talked about it from the men perspective. We kind of missed it on the women because I mean they're experiencing the same thing we experience, so they're not getting it from, you know what I mean, the OGs. So you know what I mean, you gotta like the problem with men, I mean, we ain't got no standards sometimes, though. Like we just really fail with standards. Like most of the standards is it's all like how you look. You know what I mean? It's aesthetics. You know what I mean? So we set our standard off aesthetics, and we don't value a lot of things. We let a lot of things slide. You know what I mean? Like this. I had a real quick like I was dropping something off, and they had a process that I never heard of before, and so the lady actually cost me money because she told me the wrong thing. So me and another truck guy, we sitting in the room, we waiting because we got paid for something before we can leave. So the lady come around, and I ain't gonna lie, she had a body yada yada. Like the joint was body yada. It was a body yada yada. She was sitting down. Even I looked like God damn. And dude, like he looking at me, he like, man, you see that? I was like, man, that motherfucker, she didn't cost me that. He like, man, you just mad, dog. You just mad. I said, nah, that's the problem. Just because she looked like that, you forgot about all the that stuff that she did, like how she just cost you bread. All that go out the window because she got a body yada yada yada. And I think that's the issue with our standards, dog. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why the women we allow them to do whatever because how they look, and then we get upset because we set the standard. They just following what we allowed, or they're doing what we allowed them to do.
Scales.
So I'm gonna piggyback on Mo um, a bit, but like when he said, you know, I guess in the best scenario, she should be learning it from her father. Now I know everybody doesn't, don't have the privilege of having a father or a father figure in their life. But I think the standard should be, them learning it from, the value of a man from their father, things that a man values as well in a woman from their father. But barring that, and then not having a father around, and she's somehow an adult who hasn't had a positive male figure in her life, feeding that information to her, whatever. And because the question doesn't specify whether it is your woman or a woman and that you're in a relationship with, it just says a woman. So you know what I mean? If it's specifically your woman, you know what I mean? I would imagine that you guys have had some kind of conversation and you talk. So I would imagine that, you kind of set some standard or put something up there about the things that you value, the things that are important to you. And if she's, bought into that, I would imagine that she would, follow suit in some of those in the vision for the family and in the values of the man. she's with. But in the case that it's just a random woman and you're an adult and you got some female friends that you're trying to just give
We're not
game
talking about a
to.
random woman. I mean,
Well,
we're not.
the question is
The
random,
question is,
so it doesn't
yeah,
say
but it don't say random.
it doesn't say you're a woman found a value in you. So that's what I'm just like saying for the for the question. If it's like maybe not a random woman, but maybe a female friend of yours, and you know what I mean, you're just kind of putting her up on game because she might be dating some goofies or whatever. Then you know what I mean, you could kind of give her a little bit of information or something like that. But if it's specifically your woman, then I would imagine you would be having those conversations, early in the relationship to kind of, set the standard and the tone for, what it is that you value and what, your plan that you have for the family.
So that's just a little preview. But man, to kind of go off of this, I know Mo said she should be learning from her father, but I mean, be clear, we 72% single parent homes, man. Like I don't remember too many women who got fathers to learn from, or even a stepdad that they actually respect. Our families are at a disarray and straight broken. So I do think a woman, like, she has nobody else to learn from. You know what I'm saying? Like most women are coming to you with as a blank slate, or if it's not blank, it's full of stuff that don't need to be there. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna have to do like a lot of reprogramming, or programming at all. You know what I mean? Like you're lucky if you found a clean slate. You know what I'm saying? And
so I'm gonna push back a little bit. Kind of piggybacking what Hit says, like we need to choose better, like, and we need to hold them more accountable. Like I know for me, like that was one of the things like that I actually was part of my criteria. Like, do they come from the right type of family? Do they come from the right type of, and do they exhibit those type of morals and character and stuff like that? Because truly, like, especially at the age we have, ain't nobody a clean slate. Like they coming with baggage, they coming with trauma. So they need to actually have some of the good stuff in that bag already. So if it's all just dead weight, no, I don't want it. So we need to actually have more of a criteria, more of a standard for ourselves than just be taking on good looking dead weight.
Who said that? I mean, I guess, man. Yeah.
A lot of times that's the criteria. Like that's exactly what Hit was saying. Like we'll put up with a lot because it looks good.
Yeah, but even if it looks bad, like I don't think looks really play a part in this point, because most women don't have or are going to come wrong anyway. You know what I'm saying? So telling somebody to look for something, like you're really looking in the 15% of women who probably have a dad, you know what I'm saying, or they come from a nuclear family, and find it, I guess you're lucky if she looks good, but I mean, a woman's a woman, and she just don't have that guidance or somebody to model after.
Hey, man. I'm mean to interrupt, man, but we gotta have a BS meter, because I know some people was that I ain't gonna call no names, but probably pretty superficial, man. And know what I mean? And I ain't gonna call them, man. I
The
don't
worst.
accuse me of gaslighting, but come on, man. You know what I'm saying? I over 150 pounds, disqualified over 150, over 150, you disqualified. Come on, son. Like, come on. Let's just be honest, man. You got like let's be honest. But we've
Listen,
been
though.
selecting for the wrong reasons, man. And I
Listen.
know that now we're enlightened, being prototype dads and whatnot. But we have a long history of jumping in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a mechanic, you'll take a, you know what I'm saying, a beat up 57 Chevy, like,
A fixer upper. He want the fixer upper to fix it.
You'll take something with a good body style on it, you know what I'm saying? If you can fix, you know what I mean, if you're a good mechanic, so you ain't really necessarily worried about that. So yeah, you know what I mean, superficial.
No,
I mean,
I don't want no good bodies and bad motors. Nah.
Hey, I can fix a motor. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. What it is. But to jump into the next question, because we're gonna get into it deep, right? Whose job is it? Is it a man's job to teach his woman about God? What you got, Mo?
About God? To teach her, I would hope not. I would hope that she actually already has a relationship with God. But it is a requirement to make sure that she has a certain level of spirituality, and that she connects to it, because it's going to help with the relationship. So I think it's important. Is it his job? I hate to say yeah, but it kind of is. Because you're the barometer, you set the temperature, and so the further she gets away from it, the worse it is going to be for you. So from in a selfish way, yes, it is your job, and I know a lot of people probably aren't going to agree with it, but it is what it is.
What you got hit?
The most point that you already got to have a foundation, and that you should have got that on the selection process. But that's going to really be the key to sustaining is that if she has a source externally that she's going to depend on or go to, or just rules. I don't say rules, but a way of living, a lifestyle living. You know what I mean? But I think that also comes with setting the standard. You know what I mean? And having a standard is like, hey, if you with me, this is what I believe and this is what I do, and this is what you got to do in order, you know what I mean, for us to make that connection. So I absolutely I believe that we're going to be the standard, and we got to hold ourselves accountable. We can't take ourselves out of it. You know what I mean? Say, oh, you got to go to church or you got to do this, but I ain't got to do it because I'm the man. You know what I mean? Because you got to be the one that's leading and showing her exactly, you know what I mean, how, you know what I mean, what's your example with what, and what's, you know what I mean, like what you see God as. She got to see it the same way.
Lee.
Yeah, so I think like a mix of what everybody was saying, but to the extent that I would think that I would hope that you would have cleared this in the vetting process, and it would have already been, you know what I mean, a thing like, you know what I mean, where are you at with your relationship with God? Do you have a relationship with God? Do you believe in God? You know, and then from there, like then you know exactly what, you know what I mean, you know exactly what you're dealing with. Like, is this a person you want to deal with? Somebody if she don't believe in God, is that a person you want to deal with and you want to have your kids and, you know what I mean, to be your partner in life? So, you know, and if you decide after knowing that you still want to do this, then uh it is your role, your job as the spiritual leader of your household to quote unquote teach her about God, or to at least, you know what I mean, minister to her in your household.
Oh, man.
Yo, I think I don't leave it. I guess when you just said that word, like the spiritual leader, I think somehow that role got shifted, and I think that's part of what the destruction of the black family is when that role got shifted to the woman being the spiritual warrior in the black family, and they started getting manipulated by these preachers and all these different things that was happening because you know what I mean, you know what I mean, we gave up the role. You know what I mean, you know what I'm saying, we thought that we were just like what we saying, like we really effed up, man. Facts, Leaf.
I don't think we gave up the role. I think,
I think
you
I
know,
think a lot of men gave up the church, and that idea of, you know, that hooting and hollering and giving your money to the church type thing. And I think a lot of, you know what I mean, a lot of women are a little more moved by that hooting and hollering and that emotional thing that they like to tear on in church. That's why they like to go and they get you with that whole praise and worship, the gospel. They get you with the song and the music, and then the preacher comes in and hits you with the cadence and got you all tied in and wrapped in there. And a lot of men, if you're in church on Sunday and you look at the church and you look at most of the women and you look at most of the men, you see most of the men, they're in there, you know what I mean, sitting there like this, like stoic. And all the women, as soon as somebody say, ooh, oh, yeah, he might not even have said anything. He might have said toilet paper, and he might have just said it in a specific way. You know what I mean? He might have said it in a
Teach,
specific
teacher.
way. You know what I mean? And then they're like, ooh, you better preach. And I'm like, he didn't even say anything. You know, but, you know, in some
Yeah,
ways, you
but
know what I mean? They get you tied in.
if the man was there, yeah, and then a lot of that stuff would get. I think that was intentional because if the man was around, he'd be like, "Nah, babe, we ain't getting that money up. Put your purse back down." You know what I'm saying? Nah, we ain't doing that. You know what I mean? You had that the man, the voice of reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we ain't doing that. Nah, we ain't getting up. Because I think church to an extent is emotional. Like you said, he don't have to say nothing. He just got to make them feel a certain way. And once they start, once a woman start feeling a certain way, she's gonna start making certain type of decisions. You know what I mean? It's manipulation to a point.
Man, let's keep it G. Our men, I don't think we gave up our role. They was in jail, yo. You know what I'm saying? They became Muslims. Like that's what happened to the men in church. They got incarcerated and ended up being Muslim. Because if you was anything radical or any kind of leader, you know what I'm saying, they was coming for you in the 80s and the 70s and throwing your butt in jail some way, somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? I think all of our daddies, I don't know if all of our daddies, but majority of us, you know, got daddies that probably did a time or two. You know what I'm saying? So it's a normal thing for black men to, you know, for that age group to be incarcerated and for those roles to be flipped over. And I mean, let's keep it G, man. A woman, like well, I think Hit kind of said, women are emotional about their connection with God. You know what I'm saying? So they don't necessarily have that leadership, and the men that are left, and I guess that's where the men that are left are kind of feminized in the church. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's left that's what's left teaching the women. So of course it's never going to get back under control because we're not there. You know what I'm saying? So I think absolutely it's a man's job to teach his woman about God. The fact that you see men, you know, teaching women how to be airbenders and and everything else in the book tells me very well. Like I know some men that's taken a woman and made her live off the grid or turned her into some type of, you know, yeah, baby, we're gonna live in this van for a couple years. You know what I'm saying, and live for pennies, and then we'll sell stuff on the side of the road. So that's her being led by her spiritual leader, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? When they go vegan or when they go like super native, you know what I'm saying, and don't ever want to perm their hair again or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a man's job, and you know, because women are submissive to it, to be the spiritual leader, to teach a woman about God. Anybody got pushback? All right, next question. You about to say something more? All right, next question. Is it a man's job to teach his woman about health? What you got, Mo?
So, and this is kind of interesting, and you know, I've mentioned it before, man. I've studied a few different religions, and I think, you know, it's really our job, and obviously we're talking about our woman. So, I mean, it's your job, even if not to teach, to expose them to whatever it is that you want them to be abreast on. And I remember in my teachings and kind of my studies in Islam, actually, that's more of the woman's role, to actually understand the health piece of it, as far as nutrition, as far as what we're putting in our body, what we're, you know, holding us accountable to what we're gonna, I guess, how we're gonna eat, how we're gonna fast and stuff like that. Like all of that. And obviously, I think that there's a whole piece of difference between like kind of just the nutrition piece. Like that's for her to figure out. Obviously, you expose her, like you might, you know, kind of bring her some literature or stuff like that, but they would just leave that to them. So, I mean, but I think it is your job to expose them to it, but to teach, like maybe not so much. But it's something that I actually do. I'm involved in it, but I think it goes back to kind of my stance on things. I always talk about how, like, I feel I kind of run at 85%. Like all I really needed was that 15. Now, granted, when you don't do the 15, I'm gonna be very upset. I'm gonna be like, bro, really? Like you couldn't come up with that? But I think that yes, it is your job to teach, but more so than anything, it's just I don't necessarily have to have all the answers in that respect. I would imagine we probably gonna get to some other stuff where I feel like that is our job, but I just think you just expose them and then you let them know what you want them to, I guess, kind of what your end result wants to look like, and then they have to kind of help you get there.
You make me want to jump to like the last question. what you got, Ed?
You know, I'm having difficulties. Hold on. Switch. I'm having some communication issues.
We can hear you good.
Go ahead, Lee. Until we get right. Is it your job to teach a woman about health?
So I kind of agree with Mo. I think exposure to information is key. But then I also got to think about, like, you know, what if your woman is a certified dietitian or a nutritionist? You know what I mean? And she has the plug on that information. So I always got to look at that too, like who's the expert and what. You know what I mean? Because there's some things that I'm not well versed in. There's some things that I just don't know. And if I sit here and act like I know everything, then I'm just being a fool. You know what I mean? So there's some things that she may have a better grasp on than I do. And then I would, you know what I mean? I would lean on, on her expertise or her information, but I would supply my my discipline to it. You know what I mean? Because I know that in fact, okay, we put down this plan. I know then I'm going to be disciplined enough to carry it through. I'm going to say, hey, look, we need to do this. We need to do that. We need to make sure we're, putting this in our plan every day. And then, we go from there. So I think, if you have the information and you are knowledgeable, then yeah, okay, you could teach. But you know what I mean? If you don't have all the information, you can at least expose them to that information and you guys can kind of grow together in that regard. Or if she has that upper leg in the knowledge in that field or whatever, then you kind of, glean from her information, her expertise for y'all to, to better it. And then, like I said, use your discipline to be able to push the agenda through.
Here's a spin off. Would a woman be with a man that she has more discipline than?
Hey man, don't forget about me. I'm back.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But in discipline in what? Because everybody's not disciplined in everything. You know what I mean? Like,
and the first thing that came to mind for me,
a lot of things that they like.
Yeah, so the first thing that came to mind for me, and it used to blow my mind. I used to see let me be verbally, I guess, politically correct. I used to see somebody, a woman that was like a trainer, or at least fit, very fit, and her husband was 300 pounds. And I never understood. I'm like, how does this work? Like I was like, but so it happened. Yeah, maybe, you know what I mean? So yeah, there's extenuating factors, and it's not always just about discipline or can he lead me? It's, you know what I mean? Maybe he got some bread, you know what I mean? So and I think a lot of times, man, we overvalue stuff, and then on the other side, we'll undervalue stuff like, oh, we'll overvalue discipline without understanding like this is a capitalistic society. Like you could be disciplined and not have no bread. So is anybody really checking for your leadership at that point? Probably not.
I don't think they go hand in hand, but go ahead.
I think but I like that's actually a good point. Let me hit mine and then I can circle back. But I think honestly, and we gotta really call out each other, man, on this one, yo, because I think dudes, and I say dudes like men, yo, we try to push off some of the ownership so we can take it off our plate, and then get mad at the woman like, oh, well, you're not doing this, or oh, you supposed to be doing this. And honestly, yo, you know what I mean? It's really our job, yo, and we can't sit down and eat a rack of ribs and then look at her and be like, damn, you getting fat, girl. You know what I mean? Look, you gotta tighten up. You know what I'm saying? But that's what we want to do. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's so do what I say, not what I do type of deal. And as men do, we are the standard. Like a woman chose you because she's seen something in you. You know what I mean? Whatever it was. And we be trying to just pass the buck a lot on a lot of things. Like, you know what I mean? You can sit down and you can drink and drink alcohol and eat this and do that. But if you looked at the woman and she's doing it with you, but in her results, you start seeing the result of it, then you act like it's an issue with you. But this is the standard that you set. Like it was okay to do this. It's okay to go to buffets and, you know what I mean, gorge until we got to argue about who's going to drive home because everybody's so stuck. You know what I'm saying? So I think, you know what I mean, we got to do that because just to kind of like circle back to Mo, like the dude can have a whole bunch of money and a woman can be dealing with you because of what you can provide her. But the moment that she finds somebody who can provide that same thing, but also, you know what I mean, can lead and give her the discipline, I think that goes back to being evenly yoked for you Bible guys. You know what I mean? Like if y'all not yoked the same, if she's into something you're not into, y'all gonna eventually pull apart. I think it's naturally gonna happen. So, but you know what I mean? Just to sum it up, like, yo, dudes own that, man. Like, and we gotta own it, and we gotta like actually, you know what I mean, take that ownership and run with it, man. We can't just be putting it on a woman. She can assist. Like, if it was me, I'm working out, it's like, all right, baby, you gonna have to cook a certain way. She gonna find the meals for us. You know what I mean? But she understands that's my standard. You know what I mean? But she just here to help me or help each other support the standard.
Yo, I got a little bit of pushback, and this is gonna sound wild. I never in my life thought I'd say this, But like that's like that right there, like that's a lot of toxic masculinity. Like for us to pretend that we know everything and we have to be all knower of all things, and like I don't think that's realistic. Like just based on our society, like we see that women are full human beings. Like why would you not utilize her to her fullest capabilities? Like so what? She's just supposed to be barefoot and pregnant? Like this woman got a whole master's degree and you're not going to utilize her brain? Like that doesn't make sense. Like to be like, I'm the man, it has to be this way. Like I think there's certain levels that, and there's certain instances where like let her be a full human. Like that's an adult. And I think a lot of times, man, just being the man kind of is watering down the abilities of that woman.
I don't
No,
think.
so no, wait a minute. What I was saying was, as the man, I'm not telling you. I'm not saying. I told you I need her assistance, right? Who is this to work me the assistant? But as the man, you have to set the standard. You know what I mean? You don't have to tell her every step by step how to do it, but you got to say, hey, this is acceptable and this is not, and you go with it. But she's going to have to support you. You know what I mean? That's how it works. But we're going to utilize her. You know what I mean, to help us get to that goal. But as the man, dog, you got to be the one to say, hey, listen, this is the way we're going. This is the direction that we're going. You know what I mean? And she supports you as y'all get there.
You gotta push her to be that whole adult too. Like it ain't like she's just functioning. That's something you gotta push and work and motivate her to do. So that's like just letting her be, that ain't gonna work. And we know this.
Women are creatures they're creatures of comfort. So if a woman is comfortable, now a woman is a creature of comfort. If a woman will do this, she will stay in a situation as long as she's comfortable in that situation. And if it's up to you to be the one to be like, all right, this ain't where it's at. This ain't the standard. Because a woman will live with you in a in a box. If she like you enough and if she's comfortable with it, and she feels safe and secure, that's where she's gonna be at. It don't even matter, you know what I mean? Like what's the goal or whatever. She's gonna be all right as long as you are with it.
So I can't believe I have to ask this, but I'm curious based on kind of some of the responses that in your mind and in your beliefs, are y'all even capable of voting for a woman president? Like, because do you even believe that she's going to be capable of leading? Like that's where I'm kind of drawing some of this. Like, and this is for all y'all. Like, can you even vote for a woman? Because like y'all don't even see them as a full-fledged adult at this point. It seems like
I'm not in that y'all thing. So
well, them,
don't put me.
them.
Yeah,
them.
I don't know these animals. I don't know what they're talking about.
How this becoming a he-man, woman-hated type thing? Well, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not. All I'm saying is, are y'all, or not y'all, but are these some of the guys that don't want to take ownership and is going to pin it back on a woman to do everything? So isn't that a form of abuse, or a form of I'm making a woman do my duties?
What duties are we talking about?
So she's the one that's going to be leading the family.
When did that even become?
Everything.
Maybe I missed it because he was cutting in and out like earlier. Because I missed that part. I didn't hear that.
I think essentially we all want partners, but I mean, I don't think we.
I'm not looking for a partner. So I'm not really looking for a partner.
Even in that statement you just said, if she ain't a partner, then she not being a full-fledged adult. You know what I'm saying? Because a partner is going to be a full-fledged adult. But even to get them to act like a partner, you still have to push them to be and do more. Or they'll, like Hit said, they will sit back and do absolutely nothing. So that's not being an adult. You know what I'm saying? Because if we was all hanging together, you're like, what do you bring? What do you bring? We're all going to pitch in, and you don't got to cue me. Yeah. But you got to cue your woman to get up and go.
That's not my experience, man. Like that's not my experience, dude. I'm just like, oh, you're no,
it's
man. Like I'm
really mine either.
Yeah,
it's not really mine either. But I understand what you're saying, and to that point, there are certain things that I may see value in that we're not necessarily aligned on, because in my head I feel like she should already know sometimes that I don't verbalize certain things. So if she's not doing it, then that's my fault because I didn't verbalize it and I didn't make it known. But um, as far as being a full and capable adult and just getting stuff done, I mean, that's just, that's just the type of person she is. She's motivated. She's getting it done. You know what I mean? So my thing be like, yo, sit down. You know what I mean? Like, go chill. Yo, relax a little bit. Like, that be my thing.
But if something's not getting done and you got to say something for that to get done, to me, that's not being an adult because I'm sure whatever you're expecting to be done without saying is common sense to you. So you're not saying nothing because it's common sense.
Common sense ain't common to everybody. It ain't common to everybody. And we come from two different backgrounds. You know what I mean? And we always have this dynamic anyway when we talk about, hey, no, I came up in the North, she came up in the South. So we got different ideas and different ways that we see the world and the ways that we see things being done in certain spaces. So even when we have conversations, sometimes I'm saying something and I think I'm clear as hell and what I'm saying, but she hears something completely different. Now that's not necessarily a North or South thing. Sometimes that's just a man-woman thing. We don't really, you know what I mean? We don't often hear the same things. But you know what I mean? My point was, you know what I mean? I didn't even have that conversation because in my head it's common sense, but in her head it's not. You know what I mean? So for me, how I feel like right now, you know, I'm like, man, if I would have just had the conversation, I could have got, you know, I could have did this 6 months ago, but now I'm mad about it because she's not reading my mind. That is insane. But you know, that's the space that I was in.
So here's the next question because I mean it kind of goes into what we're already talking about. Do you expect her to? Do you got to sit your woman down to teach her, or do you expect her just to watch and learn you?
It depends what it is. Like it just depends what it is because you know there's some things that you know maybe she like if this is gonna sound very Neanderthalish, but like if it's quote unquote woman's work, like I shouldn't have to sit you down and you know I'm like man you should almost came already updated with that software. I just need to tell you the task that needs to be done and you should be able to take it. But there's some stuff that maybe you weren't taught, maybe you're not predisposed, or maybe you just don't have an interest in that is important to me that where I might have to sit you down and be like, look, this is what like for instance, and this is bananas, but like finance, like literally my wife's a CPA, but I just have to say, hey, this is what we're gonna do in this house. Like that might not be a gap accepted process. And what that stands for is generally accepted accounting practices, but that's how we're going to do it in this house. So in that scenario where you're trying to customize it for you and your family, yes, you have to sit them down and can't expect them to read your mind. But in other instances where it doesn't need to be, is you just actually want to get from point A to point B and you don't have a direct way you want it done. No, you don't have to sit them down. You should just be able to say, hey, this is what we need to get done. Hey, man, I'm as a full-fledged adult, that someone I think is capable of doing this. This is what I'm asking you to do. Can you do it? You got it. And then I'll just let it go. I'm not gonna micromanage them because like I married an adult. I married a full-fledged, capable adult that I don't feel I have to hold their hand through everything. The only stuff that I feel I have to potentially do is stuff that's like customized for me.
What you got here?
Hey, I think I don't know, man, because Mo kind of contradicted himself a little bit. Because he just said earlier, we talked about okay, they got to be a full-fledged adult. They got to think it's okay. They got a degree. They can move their own way. But then he just said it again, like, yo, I got to create the standard. So I don't know, Mo. You got to break that down, man, because you're saying the same thing that you was just, you know what I'm saying, opposing. Is the man that not the one that set the standard, and she's in her being an adult, she follows the standard, right?
Holistically, yes, but that doesn't mean I have to be the czar of every little action that she makes. Like, so for example, if I'm over I'm over logistics, I'm not going to come and teach you how to drive the truck. I just know you need to get from A to B within this time frame and don't show up high when you get there. Like that's all the direction I'm going to give you. All the other stuff, like make sure you got your tire prep. Like I'm not going to go through your checklist for you to take off. So because I feel that you're in that case a professional, or in the relationship situation, you're an adult and you're a grown up. I shouldn't have to tell you every little thing. But it's nuanced. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, you know, I have the responsibility holistically, but I don't feel, you know, for the vetting process and who I chose, I shouldn't have to tell you every single detail. So there's nuance to it.
Yeah, I think the man still. I think as the man, you still drop the ball because, and I'm not trying to say it, but if she's not trainable, then you drop the ball in the selection process. You know what I mean? And I think oftentimes, like just looking at like a corporate model of training, you have to walk them through it once or twice. Doesn't mean they're not capable, but that's a part of you setting the standard and saying like, hey, this is what success looks like, right? This is my version of success. This is my standard. I want my woman to look at it the same way I would look at it. You know what I mean? I want her to say the same thing that I would have said in that situation. If somebody's negotiating some money, I want her to be thinking the same way I'm thinking. You know what I mean? So we can make sure that it's success for the group. But I don't want to tell her everything because I'm not going to be around to tell you everything. But I got to show you what's the standard. I got to show you the way of thinking. So like when things are going down, you're executing in a manner I can fully trust that she's going to execute this how I would do it. Or she's looking at it how I'm looking at it. That's the man's standard. And I think we be passing the buck, man.
So I agree with you with being quote unquote a standard bearer, but the only problem with that is, and this is in my opinion, this what makes me a good leader is I'm willing to have diversity of thought. Like I'm not looking for a clone of me. If that's the case, I could just get AI to do it. Like I'm actually looking for, I guess, ideas and understanding. Maybe I don't have. Maybe I have a blind spot. That's what a helpmate is. That's just they're supposed to shine light on your blind spot, and they're supposed to see things that you don't see coming. If they're a clone of you, it's just two of you, and y'all probably gonna clash because you be like, oh, because y'all keep doing the same things. It's gonna be a bunch of duplication. So yeah, that's just my program. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for diversity of thought. And where maybe I have a blind spot or I have a weakness, I would love for them to be strong in that area.
That's a realistic question. How realistic is it to have a diversity of thought in a woman that, you know, really can see your blind spot, be your 6 while you're the 12? Like, how realistic is that?
Very, because it's very realistic because if they're in tune with you, don't know what you're not good at, and they're gonna be so focused on you that they're gonna be like it would make things much more efficient, and it would go much better if I would do that. Because I know he's not good at that, or he hates doing that. If I took that off his plate, that would make life like that. That goes back to the whole love languages thing. Like, if they really want to follow you, they'll be willing to help you. They don't want to be a clone of you.
Yo, but that's it. You just said it. If she know your standard and she know how you thinking, then she knows how to help you. She be like, oh, this is what the goal is. Let me bring this to the table. Let me do that. That's what you actually saying it. Like I'm not saying I'm going to control your thoughts. I'm showing you what the standard is, man. Like it's just you're basically saying this, right? If a woman with open thought, right? It's like if a woman comes to the table and tell me, "Hey, listen, I know we looking for something spicy relationship. I'm gonna start having sex with other men. And you have sex with somebody, then we all gonna come back and that. What you gonna say? That's cool because you got open thought. Is that what you're saying?
No, no.
Right.
So we're in agreement with the whole standard bearing. Obviously, I'm going to set what the standard is. That's a Tomlinism. Like everything that's below the line is below the line. We're not going to continue to do that. But what I'm saying is I'm not going to micromanage you as a full-fledged adult. Like I shouldn't have to. And as a human, we're not going to be totally aligned with our dreams and goals and whatever. So I have to give enough latitude or enough grace for them to also be able to make themselves happy as well. And then obviously if that goes so far off the reservation to where I can't agree with it, then obviously we have to have a different conversation. But to make them just your hit me robot, I don't agree with that. Like I just don't think it's necessary.
I think we're taking that.
I don't think you're being truthful.
I don't think so. But Mo's saying it's not. It don't just go one way though. Because you're going to support her and with things that she want to do, that's a part of you being the man. You're going to take her goals and you're going to make them your goals, and y'all going to get there together. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it just doesn't work one way.
I can agree with that.
I think you telling men that you don't have to train as much is setting them up for failure. You're better off expecting you got to overtrain and get lucky that you don't have to train as much, opposed to you just not having to train as much. And I think that's the reality of the world. Most women want a man that they can learn from, that can lead them and do all them, like
100%. Like they want to learn from you. They don't want to become you.
Actually, they kind of do. They start dressing like you, talking like you, walking like they actually start mocking you. So I mean,
Yeah, but that's not helpful. That's not helpful.
But that's just what they do. So you gotta.
I understand that, but yeah, I get that. That's not helpful though. That's not helpful though. Everything is about the yin and the yang. It's about the balance. So although they do they start to become you to get closer to you, so they can get to know you, but they don't stay you. You know what I mean? That togetherness, that closeness, is built to build a bond, to better know you, to better understand you. But in a daily life, like because one of the things that I was going to say is, because I had said something earlier, and now that I think about it, I was talking about the vetting process, and now that I think about it, I'm like, okay, for me that was 15, 16 years ago. Am I the same person that I was back then? No. Do I want the same things that I wanted back then? No. Do I even think the same? No. Like I'm like light years beyond what I was thinking at that age. So even though there was a purpose and a plan in place, there's been alterations and changes and upgrades to that plan since then, that some of that stuff no longer even exists and no longer even matters. And we both have changed and we both have evolved in different ways. So some of that stuff back then doesn't even matter. So what matters more now, I'm thinking, is more the intentional conversations, intentional coaching, intentional, intentional bringing up of certain topics and having those conversations, because you're constantly evolving, you're constantly changing, you're constantly learning new things. Yeah, but what you were saying was what I heard. I'm not gonna put words in your mouth. What I heard was that you're training them to be like you, and I'm like, well, that's not helpful. I don't need another me. I need somebody to be everything that I'm not. You know what I mean? I got me. I got everything that I'm supposed to have. I need those pieces that I'm not to actually build the thing that we're trying to build here.
But you got to train that though. I'm not saying train them to be you, but whatever everything you're saying that you say you need that ain't you still got to train that.
That's that customization. But you can't necessarily train them on what you don't know.
How can I train what I ain't got? That's what I'm saying. I don't know how to train what I don't got. Because if I could train it, I could teach my dang self. And then now I really don't need it. You know what I mean?
Then you gotta learn
take
the
it
job.
They
got a saying. There's a saying, right? You get what you expect. You get what you inspect, not what you expect. So, and that's a corporate word. That's a corporate saying, right? It's like, if you just say, okay, hey, do that, whatever, and you don't actually set it the standard, or you don't actually do any type of development, right? Then you're gonna be upset with the results when you're not getting what you want. If she's not loving you the way you want to be loved, it's your fault, because you didn't train her, you didn't develop it, or you know what I mean, you didn't have a standard, and you kind of get what you want. It's like you gotta be the one, man. I think, I'm not saying this is happening in this situation, but it seems like you're taking the ownership off the man to do it, and you're putting it back to the woman. And I don't think it's fair to her, because if you that dude, then she's gonna follow you. If you that guy, then she's gonna listen to everything you say. She's gonna mimic you because she sees success in you. That's what women more attracted to anything. They attracted to success, dog. It doesn't matter if they feel you successful and whatever you're doing. If you just that guy, they're gonna follow you, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. I don't think what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you shouldn't teach her. I'm saying I don't need her to mimic me. I don't that's not helpful to us at all. You being an exact copy of me is not helpful to our progression, our growth, our sustainability. It's not helpful at all.
We're not talking about the exact copy. Don't talk about the exact copy. But you said it. I think you rephrased it, and you teaching them. You have to teach them what you need. and you're like, well, I don't know how to be what I need. You know what I mean? Because that's not me. But you're just going to end up not getting what you need if you don't teach them, because they're not going to do it on their own. They're not going to learn on their own. They're not going to be like, look at you and be like, oh, he needs X, Y, Z kind of loving, unless you teach her that that's what you need.
Yo, she gonna give you gonna get the bare minimum. She gonna just lay on her back and put them in the V, and that's all you gonna get. Cause I think that's all she think. That she think that's all you want and all you like, and you gonna walk around disappointed.
This is what we
Yeah, so
missing.
I want to throw that question in there, right? Because that was actually one of the questions. Right? Whose job is it? Your job to teach her about sex?
If you're lucky. You know what I mean? She might know more than you. You know what I mean? You don't want to make somebody else a sandwich or telling you that's what Harold taught me. Like, so I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, if you're lucky, yeah, I don't want to be too graphic, but if you're lucky, yes, you should be teaching her what you like. It's again, like, it's the whole customization thing. Yeah, it's the whole customization. So yes, you should be teaching them if they care enough and love you enough, they want to make you happy. So you're customizing their skills, their traits in order to your standard, if you will.
Hey, they say they want to be graphic, so I'm gonna get graphic now. But I think, a woman, like, it's like a woman that picked a trainer, right? She picks a trainer based off of how he looks, solely based off of how he looks. They don't care about qualifications, and she's gonna do what he say do, even though this is not what she does, only because she really thinks that he has the tools and success to get her there because how he looks. So I think that's pretty much says it all on how a woman thinks about a man, and then how our job is to lead them. They're gonna follow you. They're gonna try to mimic your success, but that puts it on us to be successful, to get the quality of the woman that we want. Because if you're not attracting the woman that you want, you got to go back and work on yourself, dog. You got to be in the lab. So I think it's still on us, regardless. Sex, finances, everything. It starts with the man. We set the tone.
No, I definitely think it's your job to teach her about. If you lucky, it's definitely your job to teach her. Teach her about sex. But I mean, it's your job to teach her about life, everything. You know what I'm saying? So here's the final question, man. How is a woman better after you? How do you leave her better than when she came?
So I don't know if that, I don't know if that's a quote that came from me, but that's a quote that I live by. Like, that's a mantra. I've always leave them better than I found them. So in every way that I'm capable of, whether it's exposure to traveling, if exposure to money, it's exposure to books. Like, I'm going to pour into whatever I can give. I'm going to pour into their cup to what I see that they don't have that I have to give. So in whatever way that I'll be like, oh, they could be better in this way, I'm always going to give them that game. And to my knowledge, I guess as far back as I can think of, I left all of them better than I found them. In every way that I could. And then, like, I know we're talking about like, oh, well, the man has to be everything. I'm not good at everything, but you can only use me for what I'm good at. And the stuff that I'm good at, I provide that and I give them that.
What you got, Lee?
That's a good question, man, because I don't usually do exit interviews or do post relationship assessments. So but my focus is always to be able to so I like to learn. You know what I mean? I'm a nerd in that way. Like, I will just learn stuff just for the sake of learning. But I always try to share that information, share that knowledge, no matter what it is, whether it's, finance, whether it's cooking, whether it's, what I mean, whether it's ways to organize yourself, organize your life, organize your thinking. So I always try to do a lot of those different things. So in those ways, I think, the people that I've ever dealt with, they picked up on a lot of those things, and I intentionally share those things with them. So I think in a lot of those ways, they probably pick up a lot of those positive things. But I'm sure in a lot of ways they picked up some of my negative traits too. So, but that's the yin and the yang that I talk about, that balance. You know what I mean? You take the good with the bad. But I like to think that I leave folks with the best of me. You know what I mean? And those things that'll make them better, that they could share and move and do to grow their lives moving forward. But like I said, I've never done a post relationship assessment to see once I'm gone, man. I might even move to a different state. You might not see me no more. So I really don't know, but that's what I would think.
Hit. How do you leave them better than when they came?
Oh, and I
Yo,
just want to let you know that you skipped me on that last question, but I'll let that go. Yeah, man.
Answer it.
I mean, everybody pretty much answered it. Like my thing is, I think you should. Like I agree with Mo. You know what I mean? You be teaching them about it, but only in regards to what you need. The things that you like. You need to teach them you. You know what I mean? You need to teach them how to please you. You know what I mean? You need to teach them what you like. So I think in that regard, yes, you need to teach, because it doesn't even matter what experiences they had. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Do you really want to know? Do you really want to know? But
I'm about to say, what matters?
What?
I said she wasn't doing that when you left for the war. You wasn't doing all that when you left for the war. You know what I mean? So yeah, it matters.
So yeah, so you know what I mean? Just teaching them what you like. So yeah,
I think that's that shows the quality of a guy, or the quality of the man. Because oftentimes you see in a divorce, when a woman gets most of everything, and how a man rebuilds. You know what I mean? Like a man can give it all up and then go back and rebuild it all the same. And a lot of times the women are fumbling because they didn't even, they was really following you and they didn't even really know how to get it or how to maintain it. You know what I mean? So I think that right there shows you, you know what I mean, the quality of man that you are, you know what I mean, and the type of leader you are is like when you leave, what happens? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, you know what I mean, or it's even sometimes a man, you got men that get broken up and never get back on his feet. You know what I mean? Never get back right. You know what I mean? Because he was giving up a lot. You know what I mean? He wasn't being the man he's supposed to be. You know what I mean? It's like that old the saying is, you stay ready so you ain't had to get ready. You know what I mean? So like that show you supposed to stay on your game, because if you get knocked off your pivot, you just bounce right back. You know what I mean? You always was that guy. You never stop being him. You know what I mean? But a lot of dudes let themselves go. You know what I mean? Let the standard go. And then when you know what I mean, when something happens, then they try to pick up the pieces. So that just shows you like you're always supposed to be on your game. You're always supposed to be the top, you know what I mean, or strive and continue to grow and to push yourself to be for excellence. You know what I mean? And you'll never fall off. You know what I mean? And you're gonna leave her, you're gonna leave better. You know what I mean? She's not gonna probably be the same, but she'll be better, but she's not ever gonna be the same because you were, you know what I mean, you were the secret sauce.
Hey,
So I'm gonna push back a little
he's
bit.
speaking to the last question, Ed.
Hold on.
He's speaking to the last question.
Hold on.
Go
Hold
ahead, Mo.
on. I gotta push back a little bit. Like, there's a lot of machismo right now. Like, folks is, they're throwing around a lot of machismo. But I mean, that whole leadership and being the man thing, like, in my opinion, I think that speaks to your leadership. If once you leave, they fall apart. You know what I mean? Were you really just a crutch, or were you just a blanket over a ugly pig? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the biggest thing that, like, can they survive with what you gave them and what you taught them once you're gone? I think that speaks to leadership. Like, the fact that they crumbled, like, maybe you just was holding them up. Like, I remember they always talk about like the Antonio Brown thing. Like they're like, all this stuff, supposedly all the crazy stuff was happening well before we ever knew about it. It was just the Steelers organization and Mike Tomlin were just covering it up and making to where it wasn't out in the public. And then the second that they gave their leadership and their way away, took it away from him, he crumbled. So, like, did you really do them a disservice? Did you leave them better than you found them? Maybe not. You just covered up their flaws instead of actually helping them strengthen them.
All right, let me throw the last question in, because y'all both were speaking to it. If your woman left you, could she upgrade?
That's a good question. I would like to say no, but I think that's machismo speaking. I would like to say no, and I think this is being very prideful or whatever, but maybe not. But in my opinion, I would say no because I think the value that I bring is the stuff that I value. I became the person that I wanted to be, and I think I'm a very much an asset to whoever I associate myself with. Are they going to be able to find somebody who know what I know, can do what I can do, and also and based on kind of this conversation, allow them to be a full-fledged human. And I'm not going to keep my thumb on them because be so much of a dictator to them because of all these strengths that I have. Like, I think if anything, the show of empathy and to be able to teach them is a show of strength more so than being a czar and keeping your thumb on them. So I would like to say no, but I don't think they will crumble either.
I think if you say like an upgrade, I think there's oftentimes where I think there's a valid reason why a woman leaves a man, right? There's a lot of different things, abuse, whatever. I think there's some valid reasons, and I think as they leave for those valid reasons, I think they take an upgrade because the man was not being, he wasn't being the man he could be. Like, I think he wasn't operating at top level, right? So I think they do make an upgrade. But there's oftentimes where a woman would think that she's upgrading by leaving because, again, she just, you can say, like, it's like clout chasing. You know what I mean? They try to move to the person who can lead them the best, and they feel like that can lead them to the most success. You know what I mean? It may look like she's upgrading, but she's just jumping to somebody that she thinks is going to lead her or that's showing her more success or giving her the tools and things that you can't give her. It's just like the nurses that cheat with the doctors. You know what I mean? They cheat with they cheat with the doctors because of they see the success in the doctor. You could be a great guy. You could always been a great guy, but she feels like at this time this guy can lead her and put her in a better position than you can. And so she thinks that that's an upgrade. That's not necessarily because, again, she's not. Once he leaves her, she goes right back down. So I say like it's all about. I don't think a woman can. I don't think she can upgrade. You know what I mean? I don't think they're looking at like an upgrade in the perspective of they got a better man. They're just looking for a better opportunity.
So I agree with that because that was one of the things that I was going to push back on. I was going to say a lot of times, especially in today's society, I don't know if they're all looking for leadership, really. Sometimes they're looking for freedom. Sometimes they're like, man, there's just too many rules here. Like, I just want to be free. And then they go outside or sometimes it's just they did a bad self-appraisal. And they go outside and then the world shows them what their real value is. So, so it's not always about leadership. Sometimes it's just about, for the situation is best for them, this customized best for them. Because in leadership they could be looking for, I guess, somebody who's less of a leader and less of a dictator.
But if they thought you were of value, wouldn't they stick around regardless? Like oh, this value is higher. So
it's a proposition statement. It's a proposition statement. So for example, in 2 generations ago, like our grandparents, like people talk about it all the time. Like they didn't stay because they were so in love. They stayed because they had to out of necessities a lot of times. So let's say that they don't necessarily need to be there anymore. Like now they're making more, I won't say more informed decisions, but they're making decisions with more leverage. And they like, I don't have to do this no more. I'm gonna have somewhere to stay. I got my own job. So they're not even really worried about leadership. They're trying to get the best deal for them. And that's the part that I think that, we don't really, we're still working off a very old playbook. Like, because they're not all looking for leadership.
And that's when they go to the streets and get put in the spit cycle.
What you got?
Right there.
So that's a good question, man. And everybody brings up good points because you know what I mean. I went back and forth, like when Mo was talking the first time, I was like, oh, and then Hit said, then Mo went back, and I'm like, man, you know what? We're in a new time right now, you know what I mean? In the days that we're in, where You know, and I have these conversations a lot with people about, you know, the old days or traditional times and things like that when, you know, were women stuck around for a lot more. You know what I mean? They were a lot more tolerant, maybe because they had to be in some regards. They were a lot more forgiving. You know what I mean? Granddaddy's going down to, you know, the Ann's house and Sister Mary Clarence and you know what I mean, and everybody else. And she's still home raising them kids, and you know what I mean. She stuck around, even though
There might have been some get back too, though. Let's keep it-
and Tommy,
be
you
some
know, the
get back.
milkman, you know, the milkman, you know what I mean? But you know, and it
Why
might have been
Junior? Look, why Junior light skin with green eyes at 6'4"?
and granddaddy 5'8".
I'm just saying, like ain't nothing new under the sun.
So yeah, so you know, so I think about that a lot, man. But it's like you know, sometimes you know, and, yeah, and as men, we sometimes have a lot of, you know, Mo been saying that machismo, which has been cracking me the heck up. But you know, we have this hubris, you know what I mean, about us, and we, you know, we think a lot of ourselves and our leadership in some ways, and that's cool. And maybe in some regards, that leadership worked at some point in time, but maybe there was a time where that shifted and that changed, and maybe she wasn't looking for that anymore. And maybe you weren't validating her feelings and her emotions. And there was somebody who was. And maybe that's not a long-term solution, but maybe that's a temporary solution until she finds a long-term solution. So that's maybe the reason why she left. So did she leave and get a better situation? Well, for the short term, you know what I mean? For the short term, she got a better situation for what she wanted in the moment, for what you wasn't doing, what you couldn't do or wasn't capable of doing, or didn't realize you wasn't doing. You know what I mean? And then who knows what the situation is going to be down the line? Because are you really checking for that? You know what I mean? A year, 2 years, 3 years? Are you checking for that to see where, you know, if she really got a better situation? Because for the time being, she happy. You know what I mean? But you see that everywhere. You know what I mean? What was it? The sister twin. You know, I don't know what their situation was, but I know she got that divorce, and then she was out here, and then she hit the streets, and then she was like, "Ain't nothing out here," and it was like,
That's a
"Well,
perfect example.
it's too late now. It's too late
Yo, did
now."
y'all know, so that's a perfect example. Did y'all know that, like, so I don't know how old she was when they got married. I think it was like 25. Y'all know she was a virgin. Like, she did everything right, you know, in quote unquote. She did everything right, get married, and then all these years, and then leave it alone to go out to be outside and to get no run. No
They
run.
get put in the spin cycle. They get put in the spin
Yeah.
cycle,
Was getting Euro
washed and
steps.
dried.
Because she knew her worth. She knew her worth, but she didn't know that the
She
marketplace
didn't know his worth.
sets the worth. It
Well,
sets
how's
your
she
worth.
supposed to know her worth if nobody taught her? Who's supposed to teach her what he's valued at?
Nobody can teach you that because nobody's listening. If I tell you what your value is, are you listening to me? You're not listening to me. You got in your own head what you think
So
your value at.
you mean your woman's not listening to you if you told her what
And
your
that-
value is? Or should you? Should you even tell your woman what your value is?
No. What I'm saying is your woman would listen to you if you told her what her value was. Like if you said this is your value.
I'm talking about your value. Do
Yo,
she
but
understand your value is
but
really the show topic?
you gotta
doesn't
show her.
work.
You gotta show her the value. She gotta see it. She gotta see how all the women look at you when you walk in the room, or how people perceive you after a conversation. She gotta see that, and that's gonna organically keep her in check because she knows what she's gonna end up losing.
Now I agree with that. I think there needs to be a certain level of.
But you don't sit
the
down and
group.
tell her.
Yeah, because in just that one-on-one situation, I say it all the time. Like the proximity to greatness dims it. Like you so close, you're like, oh, well, that's normal. But if they were to back up and see kind of, they'd be like, oh, there really ain't nothing out here. Like I better stay home.
They don't do this outside.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
I better stay at home.
Shoot.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's plenty of people that broke up their home trying to get that 20 because they didn't value that 80. You know what I mean?
So I can tell you based on personal experience, like being young and being with somebody for a long time and them seeing you do a lot of things like buy houses and do all these different things that they think that they can just mimic the success, and it still hasn't happened. You know what I mean? Because they're watching you and they're thinking like they can recreate that. You know what I mean? Because they I think they undervalue you and didn't understand all that it takes to build like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's the part of being, as I was just said, being that standard, my brother. I'm just going back to it. Like you gotta be the one.
For me, I definitely think man could upgrade on me. And I would be happy for her. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess that's the machismo. Because like, oh, you were paying attention and you caught all the jewels I was teaching you. I think the key would just to be for me is to keep rising and still stay on my trajectory. But I think an upgrade could definitely be in. But like I said,
So I guess what are we
cocky of
considering
me.
the upgrade? So what are we saying is the upgrade though? I guess that's the metric. Like let's define what would be an upgrade.
Everything I know and better. Right? Like if you can find somebody that can do what I do and still treat you better than I can treat you, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the upgrade.
I'm calling cap on that because, and the
What
reason
you
I say
mean?
that is I'm calling cap on that because if dude had all this knowledge but he was out of shape or ugly, you'd be like, she lost. So I don't believe that you would believe that.
That's not an upgrade.
That's what I'm saying. So it ain't just knowledge
I said
based.
no. I said no. I said do everything I do and better. Know what I know, do what I do, and better. Like so, if she could find somebody in better shape, with more money, with more skills or whatever, then that's an upgrade. I think she could.
And I think that's what I'm talking about when I say the machismo. Like the whole point that quote unquote she left is because she didn't value what you value. So for you to be like, well, no, like he don't have what I had. Like she's like, well, I didn't care about it. That's why I left it. You know what I mean? So that's the part that I think that we're kind of nearsighted on it. We don't really see around that corner of the whole point was she didn't value it. So she's not going by our metric. You know what I mean? So she has to determine if it's an upgrade or not.
I can
Now, if she circle back and be like, "I messed up," if she circle back and be like, "I messed up, I want to come home,"
I can see where you're saying that, but I don't genuinely think that they can set that value because we know what the value is. Just like the story we kind of talked about earlier, like they're misidentifying what certain thing is. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's they're just too ignorant to know that somebody's disrespecting them. In some cases, and that could be a complete, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gave somebody a you give a kid a quarter, it's shiny. But you know what I'm saying? But they exchange it for your dollar. Like, here, this is just a piece of paper. I'll give you this shiny quarter. Now you can't like that's you can't say like, oh, well, she's not valuing you. I mean, because the value is the value.
So how about this? I think this is a good question to kind of end on, right? Because this is the Prototype Dad podcast, and we're talking about our mates or whatever. Do we believe in those same values and those same things for our daughter? Will we want somebody to have their thumb on our daughter and to be like, they're the end all?
You bring that thumb. Nobody talks about anything about putting a thumb on or being a dictator.
You're saying you have to teach them everything.
You do, but that don't mean you got to be a dictator to do it.
So would you want that? So would you want that for your daughter? Even after everything that you've put into her and you instilled on her, you want her to get rid of all of that he feels isn't valuable.
No, I would hope that I raise my daughter with enough knowledge to not have to be taught everything, like you said. But that's a hope. And that's a very slim picking, and it's not likely to happen. And you saying wait for this or wait for that, I guess if there's any young men watching, you're leaving them at a disadvantage because to get somebody submissive, willing to listen, and willing to be taught is hard enough. But to get somebody submissive, willing to be taught, and can help you or see blind spots, come on, man. We talking about a unicorn.
Yo, I think the important mission is like if she's coming from the dad, she's already gonna have those pre-programming. You know what I mean? Because you was that example. You started the standard and so she's gonna select the man based off of the standard that you set with her. So she's already going to be halfway there. She's already going to have a different understanding. She's not going to have. It's not going to be something that she has to be taught every little thing, because she's going to look at you and all your success and be like, oh, hey, this is what success looks like. This is what a man does. This is how a man leads. And I think to a certain point, you want her to be with a guy that has machismo, because if he doesn't, you know what I mean, a guy with machismo has something to lose. So he's not gonna worry about him mistreating her a certain way or doing certain things to put himself in jeopardy because he has something to lose. You know what I mean? He has a goal. He's going somewhere. So I do want my daughter to be with somebody with a little swagger. Somebody, you know what I mean, that's going to treat her, because he's going to treat her different than a dude who got self-esteem issues, or a dude that doesn't have nothing going for himself. You know what I mean? Nothing to lose. Like, I want her to be with that person. You know what I mean? And it's going to also keep her in check. It's going to keep her on top of her game. You know what I mean? Because she knows, like, if I'm not top of my game, there's a possibility that I can lose this. So I think I want my daughter. I want her to compete.
That's what them other girls do. That's what the other cultures do. They compete. You know what I'm saying? I hate to put it like that, but that's what they do. Like the girls without the father, without the example, they not, you know what I mean? They don't understand that, oh, the value is really over here. You know what I mean? Then they get mad like, oh, white girls are taking all the black guys. Well, the white girls are taking the black guys because they have a little bit more firmware than the black girls do on what the value of a man is.
I think
I didn't want to have to go here.
Well, black women are entitled. Not saying all black women, but there's a majority of black women that has a certain entitlement, and that's why you know what I'm saying, the Euros, they killing them, son. They killing them right now.
So, damn, I didn't want to do this. So I agree to a certain percentage, right? But I also think there is a whole different level of value that's put on. Like, there's a lot of self-hate in our community, right? So, like, we'll go, and I'm just saying, we'll, as in man or woman, we'll go, and we won't have the same level of requirements for a white counterpart than we will for a black one. Like, we'll go to the other. Yeah, like, so I think that, man, I think a lot of times, man, we think white ice is colder. Like, we'll go and be like, we'll go and get a frumpy white girl and be like, I got me one. Somebody will be like, I bet she got good credit. Man, that chick broke too. Like no, like there's a whole bunch of confirmation bias in a lot of this stuff. Like, I think I say it all the time. Like, humans are 98% the same. There's only 2% that make us different, right? And that's race included. So with all that being said, man, like, I try to not paint with such a broad brush and be like, because I get it, the stats are the stats. That, you know, we, for whatever reason, we are higher in certain situations that are detrimental to nuclear families, but they don't have it all figured out either. Let's be clear. Like, they're, in a lot of cases, they're just as messed up as we are, because it's a societal problem. It's not just a black problem. Now, I agree that whenever the United States gets a cold, black people get the flu. I get it. However, like, let's not think that white ice is so much colder and then all you have to do is go across the fence and everything will be fixed for you, because that's not the case. Trust me, it just has a different spice on it. Like, they're still having these same type of issues because there's, you know, there's white dudes that are unhappy as well in their relationships. It's just part of it. It's part of what our society has going on right now, and there's a very big kind of struggle going on right now. And that's why I brought up the whole, hey, would you vote for a woman? Because folks are trying to make America great again, or they're trying to make men great again, and the women aren't always on board with it. So either you have to evolve, or you have to find somebody who is just, you know, they're just so smitten with you that they're just going to go for whatever you tell them. And that was kind of what we were talking about, is like, that's not what I would be looking for my daughter to be like. I just want to find whoever is whatever, you know, whatever this machismo is, this secret sauce is, and like, she doesn't have a voice and she doesn't have the ability to use her mind. I put too much time, effort into her for her to just be somebody's puppet.
But your daughter has just as much firmware. I said
white girls have a little bit more firmware installed than black girls do, and that little bit of edge. At the
I just think I take exception. I take exception.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
say
take exception.
overall. I said, but
yeah, but not even a higher percentage. No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Like you got to think about it. You got to think about it. In the United States, there's what 64% Caucasian, right? Out of that 64%, there's probably what 40, 50% living in poverty that are probably in worse states. Worse state. Well, listen what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is they're also suffering from fatherless homes as well. So it's not, and the difference is that we're 13% of the population.
34% fatherless homes. They're 34 and we're 70.
Yeah, percentage of population. So you're right. 70% of 13% of the population. 30% of 60 something percent of the population is still way more.
And Leifer, that's not actually how statistics work, because that's not exactly what they're saying. So it's 74% of our 13%, and they're 34% of their 64% of the entire population. So they're way more fatherlessness on their side, but it just sticks out more because
that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
So just because you pick white,
you have a 1 in 4 chance of meeting a black girl who has a daddy.
It's just a numbers game, though. But it's just a numbers game.
You have a 3 in 4 chance of meeting a white girl who has a daddy.
Yo, I gotta admit, so I think that the numbers are skewed, as you said, based off of the sample size, the bigger sample size. But I'm not gonna lie, they generally come, you know what I mean, already pre-programmed. That's why they're winning. Like it's real. They come, and that shows you how important the home is. You know what I'm saying?
They got you fooled. They got you fooled. They pulled you into their numbers game.
This makes me sad.
Look at all you successful black men. Look at the successful black men. What are they dating? Why are successful black men dating that way? Why?
Well, if I look just in Swissvale, right, and I'll just keep it just in Swissvale, and I'll do anecdotal information. You know what I mean? It doesn't really have any real data to it, but we could do it. Yeah, well, what we could do just Swissvale. You know what I mean? In Swissvale by itself, we can even do Willing Hill School District if you want to, the whole school district. You know what I mean? Out of all my Caucasian friends, like most of them came up in single parent households. And when they look at me and they see my household, they're like, dog, we're blacker than you. This is the statements that I get from my white counterparts in our school district. And I see them and they're like, we're blacker than you. Because they came up in a single parent household. I got a master's degree. They barely graduated high school. Like the statistics they don't align. They don't add up when you really look at it in real life situations. And on a piece of paper, when you're looking at it in this global standpoint, okay, yeah, they can fudge the numbers. Yeah, out of that 13%, 70%, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? We're 13% of the population. They're 64. And you're telling me half of their population, which is way more than our 13%, it comes from fatherless homes, dog. That has a huge impact. That means something.
Experience right now, 1 out of 4 of us have married parents.
Okay, I think it's socioeconomics. Like I think having the same values and having the same moral compass is important. Like if you go get, forgive me for saying it this way, if I was to go and get a white girl from the trailer parks, like I married down. Like just because
you're not going to the trailer park though, bro.
But that's what I'm saying. Like there's like whiteness doesn't prop you up to make you
go
automatically
where you're going to be because you don't got no business over there. You're not going to be in a trailer park. Where are you going to be? College.
But I'm not going to do. But I'm not going to do that in the black community. I'm not going to do that in the black community either.
Be where you're at, bro. So where
and
you
that's
go
my
at,
point.
Where you're at? What kind of numbers you dealing with? Because that's your circle, right? That's who you're running into, right? In that circle that you're running into, where you elevated yourself. Those numbers apply,
So you can say, oh, I can go to the trailer parks, but you don't got no business going to the trailer park or to a
The same way I
hood.
don't have no business going to the trap, into the trenches to
You don't got
grab
no
my
business.
wife.
That's what I'm saying. You don't got no business going to the trailer park. You don't got no business going to the hood. I'm talking about where you're at your corporate level job. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Your C-suite.
Yep.
You're meeting a black girl with no dad and a white girl with a dad. Facts.
Boom! That's the bomb.
Is it? Like, I don't. Okay, so like I mean, I just don't. I mean, I don't think like and this is what I always talk about. Like, I think we have a racial image problem. Like, and there's a lot of it that's self-hate. Like, and this is one of the things that, like, we're not all bad and they're not all good. And I think that we really need to like take a closer look at us and be like, hey, why don't we just choose the good from our group and then create super Negroes? How about that? Like, why don't we do that?
Because you don't even work with them, bro. You barely work with them. You barely see them at work. I don't work with black people at all, not even a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So where am I going to see them at? Out of picking it, we're even more scarce. That's why I like
Afrotech.
What was that?
Afrotech.
That's it.
Look, see, and I want to go to see.
You know how
Look,
you gotta go chase that down. You gotta go to a conference across country.
And that's what I was gonna say. That gets us into a whole nother delineation conversation. Like,
oh my god,
you might not have the same values and the same morals when it comes to that, because keep in mind what's all encompassing when it comes to black. Like, you could be African, really, and they're considering you black, and then whiteness in itself, like, that doesn't even sit to be like they're all a monolith. Like,
we're not
hell, especially coming from where we come from. Like, man, you don't see people always just say, oh, I'm white. They'll be like, oh, I'm Italian, I'm Greek, or whatever. And they have different values and traditions within that. So for us
based off of that culture.
Yeah, so just to blanket it all in whiteness, I think we're doing ourselves a misservice. And a lot of times, for those of us that kind of go over there, we end up finding out that, damn, like, we could have stayed home, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, because like they'd be like, man, I got some of the same problems I would have had over here. But the one thing that I always want to kind of close out with is, as a community, man, we need to do a better job of loving ourselves, man. Like, and that's one of the things, like, that's why I'm really battling with where to send my daughter to school, because I want her to have an HBCU experience, but I want it to be with love, if you will, while still getting the same level of education that it would have been on the other side of the fence, because I hate the way we look at each other in broad strokes. Like, we're sitting here saying that, oh, well, you know, they ain't got no daddies, so we ain't got no daddies, so go over on the other side of it. Like, no, I mean, just pick right.
They got more heart. They got a little bit more software stuff.
Well, I just think that I gives them a competitive advantage. I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but I think it does give them an advantage, and they're exploiting their advantage to their advantage.
I don't even know if they see it as an advantage. They just live
what
life.
I was gonna say. Yeah, they're just people. So, but and here's the thing that we need to really need to examine, because we're talking about who's the best and brightest and the successful of our group, and we're talking about where they're going. Like, let's not talk about our singers, entertainers. Like they're not necessarily our biggest and brightest. Like, because I know a lot of people that are very successful, very smart, whatever. They're not necessarily in the entertainment world, and they're married to black people, and they're doing just fine. So I don't think we pedestalize that enough.
But Bo, I think the issue is this, right? You want to teach our children, and I guess we'll say our daughters, right? At this point, right? We're talking about our daughters. We teach them how to compete, to be the best in the corporate arena. We teach them to be the best at anything they do, but be in the relationship. We don't want them. We want them to compete, to be the best, have the best grades, compete. You know what I mean? To be the best in class. But we never teach them to compete. You know what I'm saying? To get the best man. And I think that's the problem. And they do teach their children to compete. That's the issue.
So I agree. So I think that's a kind of a moral thing. So I speak to that with mine a lot, actually. Whether it's kicking in or not, I don't know. But like, at the very least, like we always talk about being a standard bearer, I'm like, hey, that's below the bar. You shouldn't be looking there. I know I do that. And then I also, and I remember from a very early age, I remember I used to always do this and she would crack up about it. Like the smartest dude in the class, I'd be like, he gonna be something one day. Where everybody else was laughing at, I was like, he gonna be a rocket scientist, and y'all all gonna be, I was like, hey, be friends with him. Like I'm telling you, don't play him. You know what I mean? So I've always kind of planted that seed because, you know, and I kind of cringed. And I think it's just, you know, it's a trigger of mine when y'all talking about, I want a guy with swagger. I'm like, swagger don't pay no bills. Like, I've been like, okay, you know what I mean? Like that machismo, like, okay, swagger don't pay no bills. Right, exactly. That's you gonna get a homosexual. He got all the swagger and then no hustle.
Well,
And
to
he
that
gonna
point,
be borrowing our car.
to that point, the one thing, and it I don't say it's pushback, but it's a adjustment to what you were saying. I don't necessarily, but I don't necessarily challenge my daughter to compete for the best man. You know, I challenge her to find and define the attributes of the best man for her and compete for that man. You know what I mean? Like every man, the guy on the highest totem pole might not necessarily be the guy for you. He might have the most resources, he might have the most motion, but he might not be the best for you. You got to determine based off, your interactions with the guy, what you know about the guy, and to see if he's going to be the best one for you. And then compete for that. Do whatever you need to do to compete for that guy. You know what I
I
mean?
agree
Don't
with
just
that
compete
100%.
for that top guy. Forget the top guy if he don't meet. You know what I mean? He ain't. You'll be divorced tomorrow. You know what I mean? Compete for the best guy for you. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing I wanted to say.
Oh, dang. That was a show. That's another prototype dad.
Let Russ
We
cook.
Super Bowl, baby.
Yo, hey man, get your
Super Bowl.
effing focus up.
Get your effing focus for sure. Hey, here's the link in the whatever. Here we go.
Hey man, I appreciate y'all, man. Let me, grace the stage one more time, man. God bless, man. You know what I mean? Hey, man, them niggas be lying, son.